Hello, and welcome or welcome back to Leadership Trail Mix. I'm Miguel Oliveira, and for the next 5 to 10 minutes, we will be together looking at one of the many ingredients that compose this art and science we call people leadership. February is when we celebrate Black History Month here in the United States, something that I only got to know about when I moved here from Brazil back in 2018. In Brazil, we actually have something similar, but it's just one day, November 20th, the day Zumbi dos Palmares died. He was an important leader in the movement to end slavery in Brazil, which was actually the last country in the world to abolish slavery in May 1888. Anyway, just a little bit of Brazilian history for you. As a black man, having a whole month to celebrate Black history truly fills my cup, not only with joy and pride, but with a sense of responsibility to use my privileges to talk about it. And maybe your mind is wondering, okay, but what does it have to do with leadership? And my answer is everything. We live in a diverse society, so I do hope that as a leader, you have people that come from different backgrounds from yours. People that look different, think different, feel different. And while a lot of companies out there have beautiful diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, in my experience inside and outside of the corporate environment, leaders don't always feel like they have the tools to approach it the right way. So, our reflection today will be on defining DEI, adding the B for belonging on this acronym, and sharing a few suggestions on how to approach the topic with your team. The impact of it on engagement and culture can be huge. And believe me, I know it may sound scary, overwhelming, but pretending this topic doesn't exist won't make it disappear. So the invitation here is for us to have the courage and vulnerability to approach it and act as true leaders to influence and inspire others to take action too. Using the words of Melody Hobson, we can't be colorblind. We have to be color brave. And I would add gender brave, sexual orientation brave, and everything else brave. We have to be brave. Maybe you don't know it, but I love parties and I love analogies. So, my favorite definition of diversity and inclusion is a combination of the two, a party analogy and not any party. I imagine a big one with lots of people, a stage, a DJ. Well, the analogy is not mine. Verne Meyers is the one who said, diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. Can you visualize it with me? A bunch of different people receiving an invitation with their name on it to a big party. But when they get there, they end up on a corner, maybe wanting to show their dance moves, but those dancing just don't care to invite them to join the fun. If I was out of the dance floor, I'd be probably asking, why did I get an invite then, if I can't participate? You see the point. Diversity without inclusion is pointless. Taking it one step further, Verne doesn't define equity using this analogy, so I'll try. I am a tall guy, 6'1" to be more specific. So if there is a stage in this party, I can probably see very well. But what if I was 5'1"? Would it be as fun to know there was a stage and a band playing and not sing it? So equity for me is making sure that everyone has a stool high enough to allow them to have the same view of the stage. And I get it. This is a tricky one, right? Can you imagine the effort, the logistics to make it work at a party? Well, it's not very different in the real world when it comes to equity, but the work is doable. Because most times, if not always, it requires challenging the status quo, questioning something that people see as a given, something ingrained, embedded. Inequity is ingrained in the big and small things we see and sometimes even do without even realizing. And just to be clear, I'm not saying this should make us feel guilty. I just think we need to be aware because awareness is, in my point of view, the first step towards change. In this case, awareness of the systems that oppress and exclude, combined with true empathy, which is definitely a topic for a future reflection, is the first step towards equity. Well, back to the definitions, we saw that diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance, equity is offering people a stall so everyone can see the stage from the same height, and then we have belonging, which is my favorite. For me, belonging is feeling at home, approaching the DJ and asking for your favorite song and dancing like no one is watching. You're a guest, but it feels like the party's yours. You know what I mean? I personally see belonging as an outcome of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I also see it as something very personal that will look like something different for each individual, and it will also depend on their experience. As a person of color, one of my privileges was never having been told by my parents that I could not go somewhere or do something because of the color of my skin. Yes, I've been followed by security in department stores. I've attracted weird looks in restaurants, but all of that was mostly because, different from my sexuality, the fact that I'm black never made me feel like I couldn't belong somewhere. But I recognize it as an exception and a privilege. Many others who look like me have heard the opposite. And the looks, and let's be honest, words and acts of rejection told them that belonging is not for everyone. It is sad, but it's real. And we can do something about it. The magical ingredients are two: asking and sharing. Asking because a way to create a culture of inclusion requires curiosity, a lot of curiosity. I've seen so many leaders struggling to have all the answers when what they actually needed were questions. Questions such as, how would you describe yourself? How do you identify? Do you feel comfortable talking about it? How does being you shapes how you see the world, yourself, me, our team? Are there any barriers I can remove to allow you to bring your authentic self to work? Do you believe you have the power to participate, speak up, lead? If not, do you believe you have the power to participate, speak up, lead? And if not, why? What can I do to help you on that? As I said before, these questions apply to people of color, women, members of the LGBTQ community. Actually, it applies to everyone, since they allow us as leaders to look at our team members at the individual level with all their uniqueness and singularity. As Robin Morgan wisely wrote, hate generalizes, love specifies. Oh, and one important caveat here. Not everyone who is different is willing to talk about it, so don't assume they are, okay? Demonstrate curiosity and interest and extend an invitation. And be okay if the answer is, I don't want to talk about it. Now, let's look at sharing. I'm talking about the type of sharing that doesn't leave you with less, like sharing knowledge. When you share, you multiply. I'm talking about having the courage to be vulnerable and share the fact that you don't know what it feels like to not be like you. And that's okay. Having the courage and vulnerability to share a safe space with others to talk about what it means to be different. And here comes the two pieces that may be more challenging. Share the microphone with people who are different and letting them talk about their experience. And last, but definitely not least, sharing the spotlight and sharing power with those who are different, creating a platform for them to shine and lead in an environment that maybe wouldn't naturally allow for it. A recent post on Seth Godin's blog titled Unaware says, and here I quote, if you don't realize that you have power, you might not be able to exercise it. So it's our responsibility as leaders to help people realize the power they have. Ready for our call to action? It's broken down in two parts, so pick the one or the ones that make sense for you. Number one, can you remind our teams that February is Black History Month and spotlight the work of a Black artist, author, or influencer in a celebratory way? I have a bunch of examples to share, so if you need help, just email me and I'd be happy to step in and support you. Just in this episode, I shared two, Verne Meyers and Melody Hobson. Number two, If you have a Black person on your team, can you have a color-brave conversation with them and commit to supporting them not only in February, but every month of the year? You can use some of the questions I suggested earlier or your own, in which case I'd love if you could share the questions you use with me so that I can grow my own repertoire. Just shoot me an email, miguel@leadershiptrailmix.com. I have to finish saying thank you for being comfortable with the uncomfortable. I recognize this is not an easy topic, so let's be patient with ourselves and dare to lead in an inclusive way. Thank you for listening. Take care and talk soon.